Greetings, and welcome back. I am pleased to see you be preserving my humanity.
Okay, we're pleased to see you too, but maybe not that pleased. Welcome back to Behind the Boss. I'm here with Lord Ash.
Hello everyone.
And what have we been playing this week?
Well, as you can see, Dark Souls 1.
Yeah, you should be able to tell from the number of death scenes. We're okay at Dark Souls, but we're not the best at Dark Souls.
No, unfortunately in this little video here, we died a few more times than we had anticipated.
Yeah, it was fun. The frustration was rising a little bit by the end, but what we wanted to do here is we wanted to capture some of the bosses we loved and some of the bosses we hated, just to show you the differences in design and what we think makes a memorable boss as opposed to what we think is phoning it in, to be honest. Yeah.
And sometimes memorable bosses aren't bosses that are good mechanically. For me, it's ones that leave an impact.
Yeah, I totally
agree.
agree.
I should say a positive impact.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of which, you wanted to talk about this one this week, the Bellegarde.
Yes, in our very first video, Behind the Boss, we did Dark Souls 2, where one of my least favourite ones was a gargoyle fight, the Bell Gargoyles, because I thought it was a really poor imitation or rehash of this fight.
Yeah.
Now, for this fight in Dark Souls 1, you can actually see a lot more design of the gargoyle as opposed to in the second game. The uniqueness of the design, because there are actually two gargoyles. One will attack in a moment. You'll see, there we go, his life bar just popped on screen. For the one you're fighting now, he has completely different attacks to the second one. He uses his halberd, and as you can see, the second one comes in with fire breathing.
Yeah, I think it's really cool. I like the fact that they've got different attack patterns. I like, one of the things we were talking about before with the second game, is that all the gargoyles were identical.
Yep.
Whereas in this, they're much more unique. They've got unique weapons, unique bodies. One of them has a tail that you can actually cut off, the first gargoyle, and that can be a weapon.
Exactly.
So it's a lot more interesting, I think, to fight.
Yeah. And one thing I've only just noticed watching this back, the first gargoyle that we killed, his wings are actually intact. This one has no tail and his wings are destroyed already.
Yeah, it adds to the
smaller
lore
as well.
I think it adds to the lore as well, because you can get a sense of time and history with these guys.
Yeah. Now, while some may agree that this boss isn't that difficult to beat, it's one of the early bosses, one thing for me that makes a boss memorable, I've said it before, is the arena you fight in. If the arena is unique, the boss is unique, that adds to the overall boss fight. And from here you can see, in the game of Dark Souls, one thing I really like is everything is connected. You can see where you've come from, places you've got to go. But unfortunately here, now we're moving on to one of your most hated.
Yeah, I mean, going on to what you just said there about how the areas in Dark Souls are all connected, one of the things I hate about this is the lead up to one of my most hated bosses. I would say in all video games, actually, I really hate this boss, the Caphra Demon. And the problem is it's getting you ready for what you're going to see with the boss here. It's very tight and close spaces, a lot of enemies attacking you at the same time. To be honest, it's quite cheap. You'll find that I tend to use great swords and they will tend to bounce off of things around here. You do a lot better when you're using something like a rapier. And the Caphra Demon itself, I hate it. I absolutely hate it. I've always hated it.
I believe it's probably one of the most hated, or one of the most hated in the Dark Souls community.
Yeah, it will track you. In regard to the arena itself, you're basically getting mobbed by ads in here at the same time. You've got two dogs jumping you. And even if you roll out of the way, for example, the camera is against you. His abilities will track you. Even if he's in a mid-jump and you try and roll, he will catch you anyway. It's a nightmare. I hate it.
This room brings back to what I said about the arena. This alleyway that you fight him in, there's nothing special about it. You never go back here again.
No.
There's nothing relevant about it. Because it's so pokey and small, the camera is like an actual camera that's following you, gets caught on the scenery.
It reminds me, to be honest, of the old 3D platformers back in the day of like the PlayStation 1, where you'd literally have this camera tracking after you. You've got two generic ads here, and he's just coming at you the whole time. There's nowhere to move to. You can't really have time to breathe or heal. It's not like an interesting mechanic fight. It's not like a unique enemy, because he's just copy-pasted later anyway, and we'll get to that.
Yeah.
But the arena itself is just unfun. It's not interesting or good. I don't have much in the way of enjoyment here. It's just a slog. This was the reason I originally quit Dark Souls 1, was this fight.
A lot of people too. And for me, one of the things, once you've killed the dogs, as you can see, his attacks, not that interesting, just swings at you with a sword. What makes it harder is the fact that, again, the surroundings, you get caught on them.
Yeah.
The camera,
The lock-on system here with the camera is an absolute nightmare.
like just there, he was attacking you up the stairs, you dropped down, so he tracked you off the stairs and still hit you.
There are a few points where I will roll out of the way and he will continue to follow me through, and it feels stodgy. It feels like very little thought went into this fight. I feel like this was a case of he's got a key that you need to progress, and I feel like it's a case of someone went, we better put in some sort of trial for the key. Should we just stick one of these guys in it? Yeah, okay, then put some dogs in, put it in the small room. Yeah, that's done. And there's no fanfare in regard to the introduction. He's just there. When you beat him, there's no interesting cutscene or interesting items to interact with. Key just appears in your inventory. It's like here, I roll out of the way, he tracks me and hits me in midair. It's just, I can't stand it. I remember quitting the game originally because of this, and capturing this footage was so irritating. I did not want to do this. It's just...
Yeah, it did get very, very... This was actually the longest boss to capture, purely because, again, the boss fight, the arena, the ads, just make it a chore. It doesn't make it fun. It's memorable in all the wrong ways.
Yeah, I totally agree. I didn't enjoy much of this. I mean, like now, for example, when we've taken the dogs down, it's pretty much easy, and it comes back to the fact that it's just a copy-paste. Later on in the game, when you're going into a few different areas, they're notoriously known as being unfinished. But you've got, like, for example, here, the Capra Demon, just copy-pasted in. And when you're fighting him in a large arena on his own, it's got the same death animation, it's got the same attacks, it's pretty easy to beat, and they're just haphazardly stuffed around. There's very little in regard to passion gone into this design.
Didn't even get hit once in that fight.
It's an easy fight, and you can just see them here, just copy-pasted around. I mean, this area especially kind of highlights the fact that some bosses are copy-paste.
And the AI in this region as well, as you can see, seems to get confused quite easily.
Yeah, and that's the thing that annoys me about that boss fight, is that when you look at, for example, Sif, you look at Quelaag, for example, you've got these really interesting bosses with great introductions, really eerie, interesting design, really amazing lore-filled entries to the series where you learn about them, you get real interesting insights into the world around you, and that makes the boss fight, regardless of the actual fight itself, interesting, fun, and memorable.
Yeah. And again, the arenas you fight them in.
Yeah.
Quelaag, it's got a spider's body, a woman's torso, so in her arena, spider webs. As you can see, it fits her boss fight.
Yeah.
Sif as well. You can see
swords.
like he's protecting the sword of Artorias, who is his master.
Yeah.
This is another boss later on in the game called the Ceaseless Discharge. Again, it isn't a great boss.
But the design I like. I think the thing I like about Discharge is that there is something interesting about the way you can beat him that shows that they cared. Even when you look at his design, he's an interesting character. There's things going on. It looks different than other enemies. And the great thing is when you beat these bosses, they have interesting deaths. They advance the plot in interesting ways. Some of them have cutscenes, but also you genuinely care. They don't die there because you remember them, you read about them, you're interested.
Exactly.
It's like when we were talking about Ceaseless Discharge. This is an interesting point. They've programmed in a thing here where if you can get from the altar to the doorway, you were telling me about this.
I did, yeah.
Yeah, he will jump for you out of his arena and basically cling to the side as you cut him down and he falls to his death. This really interesting, memorable, and generally lore-filled entry about it shows you the boss's desire to beat you, and it advances the plot.
Yeah, all the ones we've mentioned, Ceaseless Discharge, Quelaag, Sif, the actual arenas you fight them in are really, really good. They fit that character, they fit that boss. You don't see any other boss or any other monster that designed that way. With Quelaag and with Ceaseless Discharge, they advance the game.
Yeah.
It shows you a little animation that your progress in beating that boss has unlocked a new part of the game.
I think that's it. I think you're totally right. I think the thing about them that I like about all three of them is that they have an interesting design, they have a place in the lore that makes sense, and they are made greater by the fact that they are the thing stopping you from moving forward, and you can tell that. They are part of this world, whereas Capra Demon, it's just copy-pasted in there. It's not something that's got a lore entry or part of the world, it's just there. Anyway, thank you so much for watching today, guys. Please don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and if you do want to see more content, head over to nextstepnick.com. Next week in Behind the Boss, we're going to be doing something else. If you'd like to tell everyone, Lord Ash?
Well, next week will be Halloween, and what is that? I believe tonight, Gurman joins the hunt.
Oh, I'm looking forward to this one, but I know I'm going to get frustrated. We are going to be putting in some clips and we're going to be talking about some bosses from Bloodborne next week. So, please don't forget to like, share and subscribe. And other than that, we both just like to say goodbye. So goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me.
Thank you and goodbye.